humans tend to have an over-reliance on technical solutions. And paradoxically, the more accurate AI becomes, the more this becomes a danger. Well, there's quite a few aspects to that. I would say it needs to be easy to navigate, proportionate in the sense that it is not overly burdensome. You need a strong process which is strictly enforced and which starts during the design phase, and that needs to come with clear accountabilities. My point about being easy to navigate and proportionate is that it's really important to design an AI governance program which is going to be streamlined and is not going to hold people back. I have seen organizations where AI governance can take many months for a system to go through, and that just breeds frustration and doesn't achieve what the organization wants in terms of using AI for innovation and delivering results. So that aspect, I think, is really critical when you think about the design. It's very important to start from the beginning of the design process. So you shouldn't be applying AI governance as a checklist at the end when you've finished designing and building your system. You need to be asking governance questions from the very concept stage, and that will actually make it a lot easier for a system to go through the governance process, and it avoids rework and so forth. Then I think the point about sort of strictly enforcing the governance process, the key here for me is what I call checkpoints. So it's critical to identify where decisions are made about the use of AI. And that's becoming increasingly difficult because AI is finding its way into pretty much everything that we do at work. But you want to identify as best as possible the points where a decision is made either to build an AI system or to buy an AI system. And then that's the point where you ask questions about the risk to try and uncover, is this a potentially high risk use of AI? In which case it needs to go through a governance process. If it's a low risk use of AI, fine, don't apply unnecessary compliance and governance burdens to it. And then I think the final point is around accountability. And I think there's two levels of accountability. One is you clearly need accountability for the AI governance process as a whole. So someone who's ultimately responsible for having designed and set up and for running that AI governance process. And then the second area is accountability for each individual AI system. And I always think that if possible, that needs to be a business owner, a product manager, product owner, business owner, if you like, of the individual AI system, rather than a data scientist who's developing it, because ultimately there may be trade-offs to be made between risk and reward and so on, and it should be the business owner who is also owning the risk and the approval and for that. Well, the one that most people are focusing on is definitely reliability, and that's what we see most prevalent in terms of risks is AI systems that are hallucinating, that are generating inaccurate results, and that clearly is a major problem, because if you're an organization and you're wanting to use AI for any purpose, you want it to give the right answer. So without doubt, that's kind of number one. But I think that the area that is most underestimated at the moment and will give increasing issues is where AI impacts the workforce. And there are a number of different aspects I'm thinking of here. There's the obvious one around job replacement and how do we train people. That I think requires a lot more thought, because we need to consider potentially very different career paths for people who are using AI in a way to really effectively carry out their role. typically AI doesn't actually replace entire roles. Typically it replaces individual tasks or parts of roles. And we need to spend a lot more time thinking about training people for how they do their job even better with using AI rather than seeing it as a threat. That also plays through into career progression. So many organizations rely on junior employees learning on the job, and that's how they build experience and become more senior colleagues. Well, if you take away a lot of that junior work and give it to AI, how do people build the necessary experience to go into leadership positions? That's something that, in particular, law firms, professional services firms, and so forth are grappling with. But I think it'll start to impact other industries as well. But then we have other much less recognized concerns. One is what is called automation bias. So this is a concept whereby humans tend to have an over-reliance on technical solutions. And paradoxically, the more accurate AI becomes, the more this becomes a danger. If you imagine that you are using AI to help you to research something, and you're checking the results very carefully to make sure that they're accurate and that the AI hasn't hallucinated. If the AI makes a mistake, 20% of the time, you're probably checking very carefully because you're seeing lots of errors coming through. If the AI only actually makes a mistake 1% of the time, it becomes much harder to stay on your toes and keep checking, because you check and you check and you check and you don't find anything, and you tend to assume it's just going to be okay. But that 1% of error could be absolutely critical depending on where it occurs. And then related to that is what I call cognitive disengagement. And this is where people start to kind of just hand things over to the AI and they stop thinking about them at all themselves. And this is going to become potentially an increasing issue. It's something we need to think very carefully about in education. One approach that some teachers are taking is they've recognized that it's very hard to ban the use of AI in essays and assignments and so on. So one approach is some teachers say, well, let the AI write the first draft and then you come back and you should critique it and improve it. And I think that's a very useful skill to have and a very useful technique to develop. But if you think about the difference between critiquing something and sitting down with a blank sheet of paper and having to actually come up with the first thoughts and the first structure for your answer, those are two very different skills. And if we don't teach people how to deal with that blank sheet of paper, they're going to be missing really important cognitive skills later in life. I mean, this is the hardest part of all. And I see a lot of organizations that have developed a good set of AI principles. They've turned that probably into an AI policy for enforcing the principles within the organization. But then the struggle comes with implementation. And that's because you need a really robust and well thought through process which is going to enforce those principles. Let's face it, most people don't read principles or policies in organizations. So you need to put in place checkpoints where you're going to identify the use of AI and then start asking the right questions. And you need to put in place really good training. And I'm an advocate for broad awareness training for the entire organization. Everyone should be aware of what AI can achieve, the positive things, how to use it in their day-to-day work, but also what risks to be looking out for, and then what to do about that, where to go for more information, who to turn to, risk assessments and these sorts of things. And it's really that robust process that enforces an initial risk assessment, and then for high risk uses of AI, has a fully thought through risk assessment set of questions. Some will be qualitative, some will be quantitative evaluations, and then the decision process as to who's going to make the approval for it. Do we go ahead with this system using AI or not? Well, I suppose there's perhaps two different types there. There are the companies that don't manage AI risk at all, and those will get caught out at some point because the AI will most likely go wrong and land them in trouble, be it through damaging headlines or unhappy customers, or perhaps even a regulatory issue. But then for companies that have implemented AI governance, I think the single biggest challenge there tends to be making it too burdensome. And I've seen companies where the AI governance process can slow down a new AI system for many months as it goes through multiple hurdles of approvals and checks and so forth. So I think the real trick there is proportionate use of AI governance. So really understand how risky is this, and then think very carefully about how to apply the checks quickly and efficiently, and what that means in terms of tooling, training, process, etc. And I've seen organizations where I've worked with companies that have managed to get their approval processes down from months to literally days, or maybe a case of a couple of weeks for very high risk use cases. And that makes a huge difference in terms of confidence from employees across the organization. I'm really looking to provide a very practical and pragmatic approach to AI governance. I've worked with companies and public sector for many years, helping them to build AI governance processes and capabilities, training, etc. And this really doesn't have to be incredibly difficult. You should right-size it to the complexity of the organization, the scale of the organization, the level of risks, etc. And I hope that people will go away with a clear understanding of the kind of roadmap and journey that they need to go on, but also practical steps for where do you start? How do we get started on this? And what are the effective ways that we can actually make this happen?